Oh yeah, I'm trying to get to I'm trying to get to well, I know I can't. Hold on. Where's my trying to get to it. I can see the comments, y'all. For some reason my connection is not connecting. But I saw a wise question. Let me see who's in here real quick. We got Wise Shaquem, Word 60, the Wordsmith, Universal Truth. It's the controversy himself, real hip hop. Wise. Okay, the Wordsmith has been doing some research again. This could get dangerous. Wise said, how do you see social engineering as far as the masses' responses to things in the media? Mr. Green one, Real Hip Hop said, do I get my flag yet? All right, now Real Hip Hop. In my time coming up through the ranks, one had to be at least on 140. He had to be on the 1 to 40. You have to be able to quote that. You have to know the history of Allah, the history of the nation, the history of the flag. You know, you have to quote that shit. And you have to manifest the science of the flag, you know, be able to break it down and what it means. Now, you know, that's not impossible. You know, I, in fact, did get a flag under those circumstances. So can everyone else. But that is when you become eligible for a flag. As far as, I'm not understanding why I can't see. I remember Sunnis had an issue last week as well. see what happens when I do this. But in terms of, social media is a much, the indoctrination of it is it's more intense. You know what I'm saying? In terms of, just like I said, with the creative power of people, right? How it causes your creative power to atrophy, right? Just from you being, just from the amount of input that you get, right? It lessens the amount of creative power you got to use. So, for instance, if you read a book, right, you still got to imagine what the people look like. You got to imagine what they sound like. Every time, they speak with a certain emotion, you got to imagine that you're on your own. You know what I'm saying? When they explain the scene to you, you got to see that in your own mind's eye. Now, you can get the same story that they're telling you, right? But if they tell you the story on, all right, now I'm at the point where I can see some, I can see some comments. What is this? See how you try to sabotage it? But getting back to what I was saying, if you hear that same story on, if you hear that same story on the radio, right? Now you don't have to picture what people are saying over. You understand what I'm saying? All right, listen, man. I can do some drama in here today. But when you hearing the story, right, on the radio, now you don't have to imagine what the voices sound like no more. You don't have to picture all of the emotion in your own mind anymore, right? Because you have it right there, in the sound that's coming through the radio. You know what I'm saying? Now when you get to TV, right? Now this is even more of your senses. Keep in mind that each one of these things I'm saying involves how many of your senses, right? How much information you got coming in versus how much information you got going out. So by the time you get to, the point of, seeing things on TV, now you don't have to imagine what the people look like when they describe the scene. You don't have to imagine the colors because it's all right there for you. So then your ability to be able to imagine this on your own begins to atrophy. You know what I'm saying? Now that we got social media, right? You got the feeling of the phone in your hand. Like you got some people who just walk around with the phone in their hand. And if the phone is not in their hand, they feel funny. That's a part of the experience now. You see what I'm saying? So you got, the visual, the audio, the tactile. You understand what I'm saying? Even the video games that kids play now, right? That video game is designed by one person. And whatever was in that person's imagination, that's the parameters of the entire game. So see, in the past, I've spoken on that in relationship to I've spoken on that in relationship to how it negatively impacts our creative power. You understand what I'm saying? But another thing that it does, you know what I'm saying, is it starts to atrophy your critical thinking. You understand what I'm saying? Like you ever watch uh, a presidential debate, right? Or whatever debate. You watch a debate, political debate, and after the debate comes on TV, right? Then you have these people that come on, and they say, well, when the person said this right here, yeah, well, the American people is going to think that. Oh, he said that. See, the American people, they're going to react like that. And then the next morning, when you wake up in the news, it says people reacted like this to whatever it was that was said by the politician in the debate. You understand what I'm saying? All of these things is just different levels to in all reality mind control. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, there's a lot of things that people, you got a certain vision of it. You know what I'm saying? You got a certain uh, uh, vision of everything from the movies and TV that mind control is a whole bunch of LSD or pills or machines that you hooked up to or whatever. But in reality, that's already been achieved. Asiatic mathematics said these video games these days have multiple developers. Yeah, but how many of those developers is God? Like, who are these people? This is what I'm saying. Whatever is the parameter of those people's thoughts, regardless of how many you tell me it is, it's not going to be anything in comparison to the billions of children in the world and the way games were once upon a time played. See, when you play outside, right? The group of kids that you play with put their minds together and decide what's gonna be the rules that they're gonna play by. You know what I'm saying? What's gonna be winning? You understand what I'm saying? You know, like I said, some places you go and the way they say eeny meeny miny mo is different. Like you might be over here at your grandmother's house, right? You might be over here at your grandmother's house and they may play with one set of rules. But then you go over to your aunt's house and they play over there, the kids that's outside around there, they play by a different set of rules. Or it may be a game that they play over here that the kids over there, they never even heard of it. Or they might play that game, but they call it a whole different name. See, all of these things, as slight as they may seem, is the creative power of the children that they use in themselves. So what I'm saying is that once it starts to atrophy from those levels, like these days, well, it came a time when, even in my education, it came a time, especially when I got into certain schools, right, where a calculator was required. I got this. I got some water right now. Somebody called up on Mastermind. I'm gonna look. I'm not gonna shake it up because if you shake it up, then it might get those bubbles, and those bubbles is whitish. But in the meantime, got a little Poland Springs. You know, but that's how you you got to realize that that's how early they working on them. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when I first started going to school, right, having a calculator was a no-no. You know, even that, you know, indoctrination into a mindset, right, to where some things make sense and some things don't make sense, right? A lot of that is the product of kindergarten and preschool. So see, right now, when you go to preschool and they introduce you to certain concepts, to certain ideas, and certain mindsets and ways of thinking, ways of seeing reality, all of this has broken you down by the time you get to the point of news right now. Asiatic mathematics, so this relates to the science of music, which means to muse is what we are amused by. Different parts of the brain are activated by different instruments and songs. 793rd has sticks, rocks, action figures, maybe a toy car that I could play with, that I could play with any other kid I came in contact with, from an interstate train to a lobby corner in someone's house, anywhere traveling with family, right? You know, back in the days, you know, you might have to get a stick, right, and pretend that that was something else so that you could play your game, you know. But this is totally different from the science of, you know, video games that they play now, when which, you know, like you said, it may be any group of individuals. But the key is that the person who's playing the game, right, just becomes a drone. Well, let's look back here in comments too. I see, yeah, there's a couple side rallies going on. I'm not going to get involved with. So wait, yeah, real hip hop. Oh yeah, real hip hop said I know the history. I can break down the flag. You can do 120 push-ups. Yeah, but you know 120 lessons. 120 push-ups. Serious mathematics. SW. Free to be me. Okay, study your lessons daily. But you know, has it been 120 days and 120 lessons? See, a lesson a day keep the devil away. Why I said there were a few times I had to do a 6-month TV and movie fast. You see, that's the science right there. You know, because also, uh, you know, a lot of uh, you know, they can cause chemicals in your brain to react, right, by putting other chemicals in your body. Like they can give you certain drugs that elicit a certain response, you know, from chemicals and hormones in your body and your brain. But they can also do that with, you know, certain activity and certain things. Like, just did you know that just the amount of lights, like in order for you to see these vivid type of pictures that you see, you know, in high definition and all that, that just those amount of lights stimulate your brain in a certain way. in a way that only that can stimulate it. As W said, I call them zombies. They walk around with their heads buried in their phone screens. Absolutely. Y'all in a whole push-up side rally. Do we have to? I know we're not going. I mean, I ain't gonna say no, we not. But I wasn't planning on getting into the science of push-ups. But a strong mind and a weak body is a contradiction. So let's not leave that out as well. You see what I'm saying? You know, because you can become a prisoner of your own body, man. I've seen it happen to where, you know, brothers not free to live out what they want to live out, man, because they become a prisoner, you know what I'm saying, of, you know, they lack of self-control and health control, man. You know, so, you know, let's not leave that out, that, you know, we got to build in all worlds from highs to lows. Yeah. For good. Why is all over this flag thing? Right, SW hit it, the game. Yeah, you know, now you become so immersed, you know, and we did too. In our age, we became immersed in the games. That's how some kids got hit by cars because they were so immersed in the games. You know what I'm saying? That's how we, you know, stayed out past the time that we were supposed to. The difference is we was immersed in something that we created, that was a product of people that we knew. Like even we didn't make this game up, but we came outside, we saw other kids, you know, bigger kids or whatever, playing these games, and we got into the games. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever it was, you know, used to have to, you know, there were certain things, you know, like a basketball, you know, you need a basketball. But certain other things like football, you know, dudes are playing with a pine cone, you know, tackle the man with the ball. You know, you're not gonna be Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? You know, but it was a time when you had to, you know, dudes didn't get bikes from the store. You know, like you just really what you needed was a frame. Once you had a bike frame, you put the rest of the bike together. He used to be a dude not far from me. He used to go to his rest, and he opened the garage. That's all it is there is bike parts. He used to go there and build a bike. They said mathematics said movies as well. It's called a movie because it's meant to move. Now I'm going to challenge you on that. I'm not going to say you're wrong because I don't know, but I'm going to say that it's called a movie because it's moving pictures. Allah Infinite. Nah, he ain't post. He's been in the group though. He probably been here. He probably comment in the group before we get off. But yeah, Allah Infinite, he comes on the chat. Free to be me. Says soon we will all be androids. Well, like I said, in all reality, right? All those people we just described, let's not leave ourselves out, are already androids. It's just that the interface, right? You got to picture that the interface, right? How we, you know, interface between the electronic aspects of us, right? Which is our computers and our phones, right? It's just got a slow connection. Like, see, what you're thinking about is the 5G kind of Android, where the thing might be connected right to your nervous system, right? And then right from your nervous system, it impacts the body or the brain or whatever it's supposed to impact. But right now, we just dealing with a slow interface where, you got to speak and say, Siri, this. Or you got to, go to the web address and then read the information. That's really just the interface of it. You see, I've been told you, the internet allows people to keep some of their brain power digital in the cloud. So things that you used to know, things that we used to keep on cap, we can't keep it on cap no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody that was around before, even I would say a little before the iPhone came out, will remember that you would have 30 or 50 numbers on cap, just stored in your brain. But you got some people right now, right, that you can ask them a current number, right? You can ask them, what's this person? And they say, look, I got to check in my phone. But if you ask them somebody's phone from 1982, they still probably remember. Because that was a different way that we used our brains at that time. You understand what I'm saying? So in reality, we've already reached the Android level. But like I said, there's a lot of things that we just see a certain way because we look at the movies. You understand what I'm saying? You see Total Recall or whatever it might be, and then that gives you a certain image that you locked into, that this is the way it's going to happen. But think about it right now. How many things can you name, right, that existed on Star Trek? I know this is going back. Some of the young brothers might don't recall this particular show. You know what I'm saying? But how many things was on Star Trek that back then this was another world, but now it's kind of commonplace. Wordsmith said entertainment is better when intertwined with edutainment. Well, I mean, I think it's already, education and entertainment is already intertwined in edutainment. You know, that's when you get to the level of cultural. You know what I'm saying? When you get to a level of you know, the ideas that the songs are giving you are actually, you know, beneficial and, you know, assets to the person mentally. You know what I'm saying? You know, like if you heard, I was listening to some music today, I was like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, if you were a kid, like this is not, you know, the ABC song with just the elements of the song itself, you know, education. Oh, got some real science developing over here. We up in the 140. Let me catch up. I guess I'm having another bad day when I talk too much. Real hip hop said no one has ever asked him to disagree. That is absolutely crazy. Like that's unimaginable. I can't, you know. See, I'm looking at the computer screen too much, and now I don't have the creative power that it takes to wrap my head around no one ever having asked you to disagree. You said you know the hand signs. There's hand signs? What are you talking about? As W said, we had a game called 8 Ball. We shot a tennis ball through the cage of the school windows at lunchtime, emulating basketball. Oh, I know you're talking about, yeah, these different seats, but look, like I said, we never called it like that 8 Ball. But yeah, you know, when times came, because listen, back in the days, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how far and wide this travels. But back in the days, they said had these balls called the sport thing. And literally, you could play any game with the sport. You know, it became, you know, that way was it the ideal situation. But you could literally play every single game with a sport. Oh man, Jack Derrick talking about getting hit by a car in the 70s. Whoa. Talking about the Starship Enterprise. Yeah, why is Infmaker be in the room? He come in and I spoke to him earlier today. But I'm saying, you know, he comes in with the young lords. Wordsmith said, I played Super Nintendo as a kid, and the video games have evolved to a whole different animal system. Yeah. Now, remember, that's what I'm talking about with those lights. See, the amount of lights that you was watching at what's your name, you know, playing Super Nintendo is not the same amount as somebody that's playing, you know, well, I don't even know what the game is right now. You know what I'm saying? You know, PlayStation, you know, Xbox, whatever the people are playing. You know, just when you look at it now, like sometimes, you know, I'm walking I might be in an electronics store or something, and I'm walking past the TV, and I don't realize that what I'm looking at is really a video game. Takes a minute, or for something crazy to happen where you're like, all right, wait a minute, that can't be. And then I'll notice, but that's what I'm saying. All of those things like that is a part of, breaking down the critical and creative mental power, of the masses in general. Real Hip Hop said he got a 7G connection. Okay. Right, as W said, he still recalls, the telephone numbers to his house in his childhood, but you might ask him a number that somebody gave him, a year or two ago, and you can't recall it. See what I'm saying? So in reality, right, you are already interfacing. Part of your brain power is already in the cloud, not him as an individual, but saying all of us, we've been getting caught up in that. And see, this is one of the reasons why we study the lessons and deal with the lessons that way. You see what I mean? Because we know that a lot of times that's what it is. It's our mental power, yes, what I'm saying, and our mindset that comes under attack. And that's how we end up in the situations and predicaments we end up in. You see what I'm saying? So one thing we do to guard against that is the way that we deal with the lessons. Right. D. Christian just brought up another thing, certain skills. Reading a map was a skill that you used to learn in school. I can't say that you don't still learn it, but the point that D. Christian is making is that now with Google Maps, and Apple Maps and all of these things, those type of skills deteriorate. You see what I'm saying? Just like he's saying the navigational tool. Hold on for a second. Let me look this up. Y'all know how often I know about you. About you there.
I think we might have to turn this one off, y'all, for a little while.
That's certainly right.
Because the conversation is just not coming around. Should I brother come and check this out? Keep the other door open because I'm draining it and it's still not coming out properly.
That's
so it's probably leaking from inside.
And keep telling them to leave that door open, but they keep closing it, even when it was pumping. So where we at now again? Oh yeah, now look, speaking on navigation in particular, right? Even before maps, there was a time that we used to be able to navigate by the atmosphere, meaning knowing the position of the sun, moon, and stars. We used to be able to navigate by that. We lost that power, right, with the maps. So I'm just saying that, it's not a one-time thing. A lot of times we become a victim of our own, kind of reality like that. And things we might take advantage, but yeah, even in that time, the way we did things still was an evidence, right, of some of our power atrophying. Free to be me said, I remember rotary phones. Yeah, that's a whole, that's a reality of a time. Yeah, we lived through that.
You did that, kid?
Huh?
Where's that remote control for the air
It's in that room over there.
Right. Oh, you got my cigarette? Okay. You want one?
Nah, man.
Look,
I'm doing my class, man. Yeah.
And brother came in for your class. Where did he go?
I don't know. He ain't in here.
He just walked in here. Wow.
He must be scared.
My brother. You're in for the class, right? You're in here to go to the class?
So what you say here? Why I said my sister has the same number for years.
Then why did you come in here? I asked you that. No, you can't do that. You told me you came in here for the class. This
is crazy.
Yeah, okay. You can't use the bathroom. I appreciate you coming.
Jack King said I still remember. What's this chem number for middle school? And she ain't even give it to me. The real hip hop said, do you like connecting with other guys on earth on social media, the internet? Not particularly. Not particularly. I prefer to, I suppose what the alternative was, you know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of what brought me on here, I enjoy it or whatever, but now I prefer sell myself. All right, Tommy Robinson said we still don't have the transporter. Actually they're working on that. From what I understand, the problem is getting the stuff to recombine. Shaquem said, I recall this phone number I grew up with, but only recall my cell phone number since cell phones came out. Let me tell you something. Sometimes I don't recall my own number. No, why is you doing it the other way? You doing 10 things that do exist now that didn't exist then. I'm saying 10 things that didn't exist then. You know what I'm saying? That didn't exist then, right? That's commonplace now. All right, now see, Shaquem is from New York, so see, he know I'm talking about with the sport thing. Yeah, you could play handball, stickball, punch ball. Now, John King said war ball. I'm not sure if this is the same, but in New York, we used to call it off the wall. There was off the wall and off the stoop. Those was also 2 games that you could play with your sport game. You know what I'm saying? Asiatic Mathematics said, yeah, the graphics quality has gotten more advanced and the games can run up to 240 frames per second. And it's funny that you mentioned the frames per second because the frames per second got something to do with your brain and how your brain works, right? Like in order for the pictures, right? Because you got a series of still pictures, right? When you're looking at film. In order for those series of still pictures to seem like they're moving, is got to be at least 15 frames per second. And it gives the brain the idea of continuous motion. So from 15 frames per second that they first, invented this moving picture science with, to now there's 240 frames per second that you're speaking on. Imagine the difference that's making, in just the whole way that you perceive things. As W said, my brain floats on a good cloud. Universal came in. Right, John King is saying, we travel in the desert, travel on the seas, and all of these things, being able to navigate by the sun, moon, and stars. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, see, now look, these is things. Now look, SW brought up is, a group of things that, for me, got a strange history. You know what I'm saying? Walkman radios, Nah, that's the wrong one.
Okay. Do what you gotta do now.
All right. Cassette players, these are things that I've seen the whole lifetime of. Like I recall when Walkman radios came out, and now if you show the average person a Walkman, they won't. I won't say the average person, but somebody under 25, maybe even 30. I don't know if they ever seen a Walkman or they know what it is. You understand what I'm saying? Just imagine how time. And I used to think about that for older people. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many inventions did my, great grandmother or my grandmother get to see? And these are things that, came and went within our lifetime. The compact disc, the CD. They still around. They still, cassettes still around. They still exist. But, in the mainstream, or even we talking about telephones, right? I recall when not everybody in a certain area had a telephone. Where with certain people, if they had to give out their phone number, they gave out the phone number to, maybe somebody in the family or a real close neighbor. Like there was people that somebody might call our house for that person. And now my mom sent me over there to get them to tell them they got a phone call. To now, it's like a civil right or something to have a cell phone. D. Christian said the ability to make videos and take pictures automatically takes away from really experiencing the moment. You got to flick, but didn't really analyze the environment or settings. Yeah, and it's a certain kind of shield, too. It's like a certain type of shield. It's a certain type of barrier between you and what you're taking a picture of. You know what I'm saying? Even in terms of when we seeing people filming a lot of things that's messed up, it's because it's something that you're looking at on the screen. It's not something that you right there being a part of. You know what I'm saying? That's why people can see things in the movies, right, and react one way, but if they was around that in real life, they would react totally different. You see what I'm saying? because that movie screen itself, like you said, just that, what's the word for it? That kind of perspective on reality. That perspective of being on the outside looking in, as opposed to that perspective of, being integrally a part of what's going on. Is this the noisiest civilization class that I've had thus far? Wordsmith said the thing I don't rock with like that is cell phones because it requires an extreme amount of discipline to refrain from always looking at it. I've seen people in public who will stare at the cell phone and won't even look up. Yeah. Or you ever seen a person, right, who it's like they walking down the block, and as they walking down the block, uh, I don't know, maybe they get nervous, uh, I don't know, somehow they feel exposed or whatever it might be, and you will see them look at their phone, right? And, they'll punch some buttons or something, but you could tell they didn't really do nothing. Like they just punch it as they walking past you. And then when they get past you, because, you know, like I said, the phone is like a shield, or, in the person's perception. Of course, it's not a real shield. You know, we see that when these people is filming things and then they get attacked. That's not a real shield, but it's like a safety blanket or some, kind of thing for some people. Yeah, but see, in the Star Trek, they had the mic right here. Remember, they just hit it. See, it's the same thing, except now you got the wire. You just hit the little button, answer the phone. Remember, they used to have the holodeck. Now you can see Tupac do a show, hologram. Oh yeah. Oh, talking too much. SW said frames per second is sensory stimulants. Free to be me said I went to a party and everyone's nose is in their phones, no social skills. Now I'm gonna tell you something. That was a turning point for me when I saw a group of people come in the party, and they took a couple selfies, couple group pics, and then they left. You know, or like I see people at the party, right? And they got their cell phone. I don't know if they on Instagram or Facebook Live or whatever, or maybe they just filming a video, and they filming, the, you know, they just broadcasting or whatever with themselves in the party. These was kind of things that I seen. Now it's like, yeah, this thing has reached another level. Holographic said, to add on, people lose situational awareness because they're staring at those phones. 793rd said, warp speed, interdimensional travel, lasers hitting targets from outer space. But he says, how about those off the wall was my ish. Used to use my Pop's Mint. Thank God my bare hand game up. Yeah, it wasn't, you can't really have a glove with Spalding. Um, I don't know about warp speed, but we definitely have drastically higher speed. Musa D came in. The wordsmith said, for me, the game seems smoother and faster when the frames per second is higher. You have to have a high refresh rate monitor as well. In the video game world, higher frames per second makes the game better. Yeah, but this is the trade-off, though. It makes the game better, but it makes your brain worse. Well, I said I'm 30, and we had CD players growing up. And when's the last time you saw a CD player? Because I stopped seeing them. The last places I actually was seeing a CD player was on computers. So, you remember cassette tapes? Shaquem, pagers came and went. Pagers came and went. That's another thing, man. Shaquem hit on the head, man. Like I remember that was state of the art to have a pager. Holographic said digital photos destroyed the camera. Yeah, I seen it. I didn't see the camera come. Certain kinds of fancy cameras I saw come, and then I saw those cameras switch to digital. King Me said the payphone. The payphone is another thing that it disappeared in our time. See, like even right now, when people say drop a dime, that's one of the places drop a dime come from. And the payphone, that was a thing. If you see a crime, drop a dime. Payphone was 10 cents then. See, now look, this is another thing that you're bringing up here. Now, I'm not going to say that there's a particular impact or another one, right? But Asiatic mathematics is bringing up TVs that emit 60 hertz, right? Ones that emit 75 hertz, 120 hertz, all the way up to 240 hertz. These are different, phenomena that we wasn't always subject to. The body wasn't always subject to being around these kinds of things. So I can't say what the impact is, but this is another thing. This is another part of the stimulus that's around us. Lucy D said just to even have a cell phone before 1992 was like space age. Yeah, those pretty much I don't even know if you would call those cell phones. I didn't really like those chirp phones. There was something that was too coppish about those for me. And then they turned out to really be owned by the cops. Jack King said, do people who go to concert shows with their phones out recording actually watch the videos later It's difficult to even see the stage because of the phones in a way. Now, I think that's just a social media thing, personally. I mean, it might be. I don't know. But I do know that it had an impact on. It had an impact on. Uh, See, you can't be b-boying with a cell phone in your hand. You know what I mean? Like the New York City Breakers in the rock steady, just kind of like the way people conduct themselves, you know, uh, at a concert now. You know what I mean? Like how much are you really into the music? And like I said, you got this shield in between you and everybody else in the music. You know what I'm saying? Like, while the people are busy giving the show, you're busy filming. Calm Islamly. State of the art, I still didn't ask you the question I told you I was going to ask you. I thought you was already going to know, and it wasn't going to be a situation where I would have to ask you. Apparently, that's not the case. Let me catch up here. Brilliant Elevation said back in February or January, the mic will pick up everything. And well, it don't need to pick up everything you hear today. I know that. Whoa. Real hip hop say, can we build on today's degree? Well, first of all, you know today's degree? Whoa. I didn't know they called the thing with Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl Tittygate. Am I the only one that was out of the loop on that? That's called Tittygate. Little disclaimer, this is a Hotep channel. Asiatic Mathematics said, I never thought of that. People looking at the cell phone to avoid eye contact. Yeah. You never noticed that? I see that quite often. Calm Islam, he said, trying to be seen and heard without being guided. Well, you coming in, you leveling heavy ammunition there today. Calm Islam, he's coming out the box firing. I said one of my cars has an older deck, so I have the cassette tape player and cassette tapes. My mom has a box of those and VHS that she never uses. I bet she doesn't ever use it. Where's she gonna play VHS on now? Wow, Shaquem brought up one, man. Tokens, man. Remember tokens? It used to be rap records, man, where they spoke about tokens. Nah, we haven't seen a token. I mean, we about it looks like we're about to see the end of the Metro card. Graphics said the craziest turnaround was I had to buy this bulky portable hard drive for the class. However, by the next semester, those thumb drives was the only thing PCs was accepting. Yeah, and that's what do you call that? The planned obsolescence. That's a very, very sneaky thing that corporate America is into. Common Vaughn said my first cell phone was a Motorola StarTAC. I don't even recall what my first cell phone was. Shaquem said I had the cell phone in the bag back in 92, 93. Watt said recording the phones had a huge impact on comedy. That's why a lot of comedians tell them to put it away. I mean, yeah, definitely. I didn't see it as firsthand in the comedy cipher, but I could imagine. Especially because when you see um, a lot of times, by the time we see a special on uh, HBO or Netflix or one of these, whatever it is, a comedian goes on the road and kind of refines those jokes, and they come up, they might have different jokes, but then they refine it down to a group of them that it's been tried and true how the crowd is going to react to it. But if filming that whole process thing, yeah, you're gonna have it's gonna be a different impact. That Supreme Man came in. All right, got love came in. Oh no, you said in your car is a CD player, not a cassette player. But yeah, getting back to Wise's original question, you know what I'm saying? And how each, that's uh to tie that all in. You know what I'm saying? Those uh each one of those inventions, you know what I'm saying, had a different impact on how quickly and how effectively, right, people could be indoctrinated. You know what I'm saying? And we speaking, Wise question was in particular about, the news, you know what I'm saying, and how social media affects that, people what people see as the truth, but it's all different ways that people get indoctrinated. You know what I'm saying? Rather it's into corporate America, not corporate America, consumerism, L7, one half of the L brothers, new and improved. That each one of those inventions, had a little different effect on indoctrinating people in. You know what I'm saying? Even into kind of different religions. The kind of modern day religions that people have. We got massive mosquitoes in here, yo. Tearing me up. Asiatic mathematics said a lot of horror movies is advocating for the Christian religion. Yeah. But you got other religions, like, look, even, depending upon how a person deal with science, science is a religion for some people. You can't letting the cool air out. So you letting the cool air out. Wait, you got the cool air on? Yeah. It's in the park. Put all the mosquitoes in here. Right, why I said in horror movies also makes you numb to murder. That's how they condition most of us. That's the word right there. That's the word right there. Conditioning. The word Smith said in Child's Play that had voodoo in that with Chucky calling on the voodoo deity. Grand Theft Auto, which signs for Grand Theft Auto. Karma's Army said violent video games desensitizing the youth to mindless violence. Grand Theft Asiatic Mathematics said Grand Theft Auto is the best game. See those two comments right there? You see how those two comments, I don't know if the word is match up. Like I said, we have our own social engineering. Also, we have one mind as a lot, and it's that's uh something that people say to me a lot. But what would be the I guess somehow that when say we going through degrees, you know what I'm saying? Say we dealing with what it is that we teach, right? You got a lot of people that's they see it differently than we saw it back then. You know, we was one mind and one culture. And so with certain things that if you did within the culture, it's like, okay, this is out of place. So like I said before, listen, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, right, and you ask for some Chinese food, whatever it is, you know, and let's say when you ask for that Chinese food, they give you some pizza. But the pizza is actually, is good pizza. Pizza is great. But you ordered chicken with broccoli. How are you going to rate that restaurant? And see, I chose that in particular because that's dealing with culture. I said because we dealing with culture, and this culture is heavily influenced by now. Why? Um, you know, it's yeah, that's always going to be a part of it. But it's kind of worldwide now. Hold on for a second. Let me see. Let me see if Supreme Man is still in here. I gotta go in the other room. Like I told y'all, my the way I'm broadcasting today is a little bit all over the place. So I'm about to go over here and put the link back in here. Well, I said that sometimes when I'm building and the guys around me also talking the cadence of a lot, yeah, that was definitely something. There were certain brothers who, you when you deal with wisdom, right? Uh, there's different the charisma, right, in different people's speech is different. Like some people are great, they inspirational type of speakers. Some people, they got just a charismatic cadence or a voice. Some people it's just in the volume. Some people just talk real loud. You understand what I'm saying? So different individuals who, they express great wisdom. We imitated the way that they spoke, the words that they used. Universal Truth says social engineering has a negative connotation. It's a method used to trick people. This knowledge isn't centralized, it's everywhere, rooted in New York. Yes, influenced by New York. No. It has a negative connotation. I mean, put it like this. When, we just dealing with simple addition, right? You got social and you got engineering. Neither one of those words is negative. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes you could come to know a thing, right? And it could work both ways. You can come to know a thing as positive or negative, right? Based upon, how people use it. Like for instance, let's take the cross, right? We were socially engineered into looking at it as some kind of, everlasting life. You know what I'm saying? That, somehow Jesus, he gained everlasting life, and through him, we all are supposed to get everlasting life. That's social engineering. The cross was about death. The cross was the capital punishment of the time. Why I said also a torture device. But we were socially engineered into that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I suppose as a term, as an entire term, social engineering, probably came about from people with negative intent. But see, social engineering is a fancy word for teaching the babies. You know, I would agree with you. That a lot of social engineering that's been done now is about teaching babies things that is not an asset to them. But just in terms of, what social engineering is, it means teaching the babies. You know what I'm saying? Now, whether you're going to teach them to, rise above six, or whether you're going to teach them to get caught up in six, that's a matter of what society that you engineering for. You know what I'm saying? If you engineering for a society, right, that people is going to be kept back, people are going to be kept apart, you know what I'm saying, of all the finest parts and the rewards of that society, then you're going to have to, your social engineering is going to be negative. You know what I'm saying? But, at the end of the day, it's teaching. You know what I'm saying? Like, your babies, they don't know necessarily what's good or bad for them yet. They have a certain trust in you, as the person that's taking care of them. Um, Let me see here. Follyfield 187. Is it Follyfield or Foleyfield? Says techno Technocracy is the science of social engineering, the scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to reproduce and distribute goods and services to the entire population of this continent. Okay, now, this is about a certain group of people who's doing the social engineering. You see what I'm saying? Uh, One of the examples of this, right, is certain cities, if you live in, right? If you live in certain cities, especially once you start moving away from the East Coast, right? If you live in a city that was designed after the invention of the car, you know what I'm saying? Then you might live in a society, right, where, it's built a certain way. It's built for cars. They're not gonna have very many sidewalks. Like when you in New York, the way stores is right next to each other. You go down the block and you go in one store and then the other store and then the other store. Other places is not built like that, right? Because the technocrats, right, the people that's dealing with technology, right, they're the ones that are doing the social engineering in that place. But technocracy is not the only social engineering, I'm saying. Holographic says same thing with the word propaganda. It has become negative. However, when it was first used, it had a neutral meaning. I'm gonna have to, uh, you know, I don't know necessarily, uh, but the history of the word propaganda, right, is from because I don't, you could be saying the same thing I'm saying. The history of the word propaganda is from the time of the Protestant Reformation. Like during the times when the Protestants was, Martin Luther and all that stuff. And, uh, they used to put up posters, you know what I'm saying, with different information. This is what's better about Protestantism than Catholicism. This was better about Catholicism than Protestantism. So the word propaganda comes from propagating the faith. So I don't, I mean, of course, at that time, I don't think it probably was looked upon as negative. Being that everybody in that era of Europe was propagating the faith, but a little bit of history on the word propaganda. Supreme Man said, yeah, my understanding social engineering is through social means planting thought into the subconscious mind of the masses through subliminal messages and product placement as well as misinformation. Yeah, that's social engineering as it comes from what's the name of this place? The Tavistock University. Uh, where's the wordsmith? I'm sure the wordsmith has heard of this place. If anybody right now can Google Tavistock, it's the Tavistock Foundation, is it? See, these are the particular people that did the social engineering. But what I'm saying is, uh, if you ever taught a kid, like for instance, back in the days we had the mathematics song. You know what I'm saying? Or in Medina, right? Medina is famous for having songs. Like they'll take a popular song and change all the words to where it says the black man is God. And supreme mathematics is the foundation of all things that exist. So when a person comes in to the knowledge, right? In Medina, that's a part of the social engineering. See the same thing, Supreme Man, when you say that it's Billsville, that's social engineering. But back in the days, we had a mathematics song that we used to go around and, anytime we was at somebody's house or whatever, and they had a little kid, we used to teach them the song. And then whenever we came back, the kid would know the song. They would always be ready to build with us. That was one of the ways how we got through to them. That's social engineering. What Allah did, was a form of social engineering. You see what I'm saying? Because you got to remember to the baby, right? When it says, well, they were made blind, deaf, and dumb by the devil when they were babies. They could also be given the knowledge of themselves when they're babies. The mechanisms that you use to do it is essentially the same. What's different is what you're trying to do with it. Why it says social is the advocate for a group of men or society of men for one common cause. So Foley field, is this Foley like Foley, Axel Foley? Foley field? Which Foley? Which Foley is that? Universal Truth says social engineering. God, I'm in the middle of my class right now. All right. Social engineering is a hacking technique to manipulate people into giving you information they wouldn't have otherwise. When you separate the two words, they can be positive, but together they are a weapon. I mean, now, universal truth is what I can agree with you on, that the people who first started using those two terms together, right? They the people who started using those two terms together, right? They can use it, really any way they want. I understand what you're saying in terms of that. You know what I'm saying? But it's the same way I say with Black Lives Matter. The people who are behind that hashtag, right? You probably don't support them. But the actual term Black Lives Matter, you're going to be Uncle Ruckus if you say that Black lives don't matter. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with social engineering. Or look, the word God. you know, if we was gonna say, okay, well, the first people that started using that word God, you know, if we look at what their intentions were, but we know who the Most High truly is. Why I said from the beginning, since he started these videos, that there are some things you have to come home to do, like build on degrees. There are other guys that build on that daily. Oh yeah, that side rally is getting, but I'm still waiting. Foleyfield knows what I'm talking about. The Tavistock Institute. So universal truth. If you, because the science that you're talking about, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Edward Bernays. You're talking about the Tavistock Institute. You're talking about the Carnegie Mellon Foundation, right? You're talking about the Ford Foundation. You're talking about the Rockefeller Foundation. Like when we used to look at Sesame Street back in the days, if everybody remembers Sesame Street back in the days, anything you look at on Channel 13, at the end, it will always be saying that this is funded by Carnegie Mellon, the Ford Foundation, etc., etc. See, Bernays is one of the people who came up with the manipulations. He was the nephew of Sigmund Freud. And see, Sigmund Freud wasn't all that great. The reason why we know him so much is because of Eddie Bernays. And he had been in the propaganda part in the Department of World War I and all of that. And when he came out, he went into the corporate world making commercials. So, you know, association, mental association, associating, you know, diamonds are a girl's best friend, you know, associating diamonds with marriage and all of these types of things. Yeah, he socially engineered that. But, you know, social engineering in and of itself, you know, see, right now, when we saying that, okay, look, we want a group of babies to come up, right, that don't respond to, you know, dudes that's throwing gang signs, you know, dudes that's talking about murder, death, kill, 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 right? We want to raise a group of children that don't respond the same way to that. You have to socially engineer that. If you don't, it's not going to happen. Real hip hop said, do you see studying the 120 as a form of anthropology? Well, there's anthropology in there. Uh, I would wonder where it fits in. You know what I'm saying? Because when you dealing with when you dealing with, you know, 120 lessons, you're not studying one group of people. You know what I'm saying? Like most of the forms of anthropology that, at least that I know about right now, you know, they study one group of people and then they, you know, kind of string together the different historic peoples. You know what I'm saying? But 120 would be, you know, yeah, you know, it's some type of study of mankind. You know what I'm saying? And the interactions that they've had. But for instance, I'm saying when you get to, Mount Everest is 29,141 feet high. That's geology and geography. You know what I'm saying? There's many sciences in 120 though. Asiatic mathematics, and I haven't heard of that, but I have heard of CRISPR, and they want to use swine to skin graft on humans. Um, hmm, that's a new one. I haven't heard that one. That sounds pretty crazy, but they that's in terms of scientific research. You know, they've the pig is an animal uh, that they claim is somehow extremely close to people, and so there's lots of experimentations that goes on pigs uh, that ultimately they apply to people. But yeah, that's a new one on me. Supreme Man said life is from his tree. Yeah, life is one of the brothers that he writes the songs. He writes the songs like Barry Manilow. Holographic said yes, it's the Tavistock Institute, which goal was to apply social science to contemporary issues. Yeah, but these it's the particular people who's doing the social engineering, and what they actually value. You know what I'm saying? Why I said what's the song? No, there's dozens of songs. Why there's not is not one song. Literally, I've seen them, you know, start in the evening and sing until the sun comes up. SW says social engineering is the grooming of society. Oh yeah. Social engineering is the grooming of society through various means implemented to utilize the masses for a predetermined intent. 793rd said DJ Scratch said they used to sing Study Your Lessons over an old school classic soul joint when they used to rock in Albany PJs. Supreme Man said I see it can be a positive or a negative. Yeah, I mean it's just the social engineering that we've seen. You know what I'm saying? The social engineering that we've seen, uh, from or what we consider social engineering. You know what I mean? Because that's what the people who did it called it. You understand what I mean? But what I'm saying is that when you look at Oakland, right? Oakland was socially engineered by the Black Panthers. You see what I mean? They was a group of people who set out with a particular idea, right? And those ideas spread out amongst the masses of people, at least in that area. When you can trace back the behavior of people to some decisions that was made, by a group of people, a group of engineers at some point, that's what social engineering is. You know what I'm saying? That these people set out to show You know, like for instance, Eddie Bernays set out to show that if you put a woman on the hood of a car, right, that is likely to make a man buy it because he's going to associate, right, getting that car with getting a woman. You know what I'm saying? So the same way they said, okay, well, look, you know, if you make sure that these kids eat breakfast, right, before they go to school, they're gonna perform better. And now you can trace that, you know, nationwide phenomenon back to something that was engineered by that group of people. You know, they're the scientists of that. Oh, Mick Foley from WWE. I know, all right. Mick Foley. Watch a little wrestling there. Little fabulous Freebirds. What's a backronym? Holographic said the use of acronyms and backronyms such as I self, Lord and Master is another form of social engineering. The Club of Rome. I've heard of the Club of Rome, but I'm not. What's the Club of Rome? You know, but these are different. The Carnegie Endowments, the Club of Rome. These are different groups of social engineers. Yeah, if you look up these Tavistock people, you know what I'm saying. You will see the root of a lot of the social engineering. You know, worldwide. Universal Truth said, "What is the difference between social engineering and civilizing?" Um, hmm, I'm gonna come back to that question. Let me roll now a little bit, but I'm gonna come back to that question. I mean, I'm gonna tell you on let me just think about it for a second. That's a good question. Why I said the Bloods and Crips were definitely socially engineered to other places in America. You know, I would agree with that. You know what I'm saying? You know, if you went back to, you know, even like 5 years, you know what I mean? If you went back like 5 years before, you know, that culture came to New York, you would find people that, you know, would in no way accept, you know, what was going on. Not that it was good or bad, but just that it wasn't a New York thing. You know what I'm saying? You know, we spoke on that before, where, you know, it was an era, you know, we didn't even listen to music that came from outside of New York. You know, we didn't consider doing anything that. So, you know, the people coming to a point where they doing that, yeah, that's social engineering. You know what I'm saying? And you got to reverse that social engineering and get out. Asiatic mathematics said the music industry is used to socially engineer. They really like to turn people into consumers. You know, but listen, in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? The first people who was doing hip hop, you know what I'm saying? They was engaged in a form of social engineering too, whether they realized it or not. You know, just the fact that they came up with ideas that went the world around. But see, these technocrats, they feel like, well, we got all the best information. We know how to do this the most effectively. You understand what I'm saying? With the least amount of what they call unintended consequences. Real hip hop said, I see there's cultural anthropology, and social anthropology. Well, yeah, you get a little of both in 120. Calm Islami said, yeah, because they saw the swine is similar to human flesh. Yeah, there's different things, like a lot of times in like ballistics and stuff like that, they'll test it out on pigs, right? And then say, well, if it, kind of assume, what I'm saying, would impact that type of ballistic would have on a person. Chimeras. Peace. Calm Islami said cannibals call human flesh.
But my son came up here sincere. We're trying to find him. He told us to meet him here.
Sincere?
Came from Ohio.
Yeah, it was just a brother in here from Cleveland a minute ago.
Yeah, you know where he went?
Nah, he probably just went to the store.
All right, thank you. What'd you say, Fred?
I need security out here. Somebody needs to come out here and I'm out to lock this door. And then people gonna really see, I'm so I'm a little bit what's the word? You know, I like to French people talking to me when I'm talking. See, first of all, you know, just as an 85, when you don't interrupt grown people when they talking. But then on top of that, man, when you came into this knowledge, man, breaking the cipher could be lethal. It could be detrimental to your health, man. Breaking the cipher. I don't know what's going on in here today. We're about to have a session. See, I need to socially engineer these people into understanding not to do that. So Asiatic Mathematics said CRISPR is a gene editing company. I found out about them in National Geographic magazine. I thought CRISPR was the name of the technology or the name of the machine that they use to, splice out certain genes and splice in certain genes. Calm Islami says social engineering is to encourage an unnatural state of being. Civilizing is encouraging a natural state of being. Supreme Man said Yaqub used social engineering to gather his followers for his mission. Okay. Y'all gonna have to bear with me for a second. I fixed all their wagons. I gotta get my whole focus back now. I gotta get my whole focus back. So yeah, we right here. Calvin's wrong. He says social engineering is to encourage an unnatural state of being. Civilizing is encouraging a natural state of being. Well, what's your natural social state? Supreme Essay Yakub used social engineering to gather his followers. I would say more he used social engineering once he got uh to the island. You know, shit, they go Inf Mega right now hit me on the Inf Mega hit me on the other on one of my I don't know what you call it. But yeah, that was Inf Mega just now. Um that's a whole other story. We gotta get back into that. But I would say he used it more, you know, whatever was the rewards of that society. Meaning that, the degrees, right, in particular, it tells us about all the penalties that was involved with joining that society, and breaking the rules. But I remember first, he promised them all types of luxury before they got out there. But whatever he did in order to make people believe that lighter skin was better, that's social engineering. Who's this now? Asiatic Mathematics said, I saw that experiment they did on that guy with the LSD. The video was in black and white. They were trying to find out if they could use LSD for mind control. They couldn't. If I'm not mistaken, one guy jumped out the window in one of those LSD experiments. You talking about the Tavistock people? Or are you speaking about the people in Canada? Because you got several different groups of people that have been social engineering. Like the Rand Corporation. Does anybody know about the Rand, RAND Corporation? Now the social engineering comes from over there too. Holographic said, I was just listening to the podcast Hidden Brain. They were using a radio show to socially engineer peace between the Tutsi and the Hutu. Hmm. And what kind of things was they using? And how is that working out? Holographic said the backronym is an acronym deliberately formed from a phrase whose initial letters spell out a particular word. Wait a minute. Acronym is an acronym deliberately formed. You gotta give me an example. I'm not smart enough for that to understand what you wrote right there. when you turn a law or already a word and break it up by saying arm, leg, arm, supreme head is a backronym used to convey the concept that the black man is God. I see what you're saying. I see. All right, yeah, I understand now. Yo. Yeah. Yeah, this is ooh, kid. Making teaching difficult today, man. I don't know what everybody wants to converge. Is this what used to go on? Is anybody familiar with the Monday class? Is this how it's run? Because we don't have this on Tuesday. We don't have to, it's going to be a new pattern. It's going to have to develop. Supreme Man says social engineering can be used in civilization. However, civilization has to be a positive entity. While you can use social engineering for negative means, civilization has a formula for positive. And man, UFOs in here at 7:30. I need individuals to let them know, man. I need some people like people that be with Farrakhan. You know what I'm saying? And they just be looking around. Like, look, Farrakhan be talking. They be looking around like this, looking all the crowd. It messed up my life. And about one of these people is contacting me thinking I'm like, that'd be the thing that get me. If you go anywhere what I'm doing, at least have something, worthwhile. My word. Before I answer the phone, the person will curse you out. Real hip hop said, who has a kufi with a tassel? We generally call that a crown, but kufi with a tassel, that's a new one. Why I said his rules and regulations with a social engineering. Um, the rules and regulations was mostly dealing with penalties. And don't get me wrong, penalties is a way to you can get a certain amount of social engineering like that. But it's the same kind of thing. You got to remember, once you get into this social engineering, you're getting heavily into the field of psychology, and now you get into that area where you could teach better with a system of rewards than you could teach with a system of penalties. So Carl Islam, said the natural social state of the original man is equality. When Musa civilized the devil, he taught them to forget trick knowledge because that was his nature. Uh, I gotta disagree with you on that. Supreme Master, as far as pointing out, as far as pointing out dissatisfaction, then implementing it on the followers, he made paradise look bad and illusion look good. This took time. In that time, he created social discord. Calm Islam, he said Yaqub was engaging with social engineering because he was capitalizing off of the dissatisfied to put his idea in effect. Universal truth says social engineering has limited scope and time. Civilizing has broad scope and is for life. Social engineering can be used in civilizing, but it's not greater than civilizing. I mean, these are some, I would like for these things to be true. But we got to look at the world before 6,000 years ago. We got to look at all the different ways, right, in which the Son of Man searched for that mystery God for trillions of years. You know what I'm saying? People being exiled 16,000 years ago. That predates the Caucasian. I mean, like I said, I definitely can understand what you're saying. Like how some words is like copyrighted. Like if you're saying social engineering, C with a circle in it, right? As copyrighted by, Tavistock and Carnegie Foundation and all of these different people for a foundation. If you're speaking on that, then yeah, that's what it is. That's what they copyright. You know what I'm saying? But just in terms of engineering is a topic that people go to school for. You know what I mean? You got electrical engineering, you got civil engineering. You understand what I'm saying? And social is just another type of engineering. You know what I mean? It's just applying science to solutions. The particular science that they use. Like, listen, how many things did you look at, right, when you became a parent, or even as when you was growing up, right? And your parents might have did that to you, but then you didn't do it to your kids. That's social engineering. I don't, getting back to the question that the brother asked, what is the difference between social engineering and civilizing? Social engineering is a more neutral concept, meaning that you can apply it to you can apply it to making people civilized or making people savage. Just as words in the English language. You know what I'm saying? The opposite of civilization is savagery. You know what I'm saying? The opposite of social engineering is, willy-nilly just, allowing things to develop, in whatever way. You know what I'm saying? But You know, anything that people get into, you know what I'm saying, is you know, the society that you're a part of, creating the people and conditions, you know, to come about with whatever is whatever's the end to the means that they're using. You know what I'm saying? You know, I don't know if they're, you know, equal terms to really compare like that. Uh, I don't see them as, you know, social engineering is a component of civilizing. You know what I'm saying? A component of, you know, introducing people, you know, to concepts and ideas, you know, and behaviors for a particular, you know, ends, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? But social engineering existed before the individuals who you know, the way you're defining social engineering, right, is a kind of idea, you know, from uh, social engineering, right, is the way you're defining it is related to eugenics, which is related to evolution. Evolution began as a social science and then got applied to life sciences. But originally, uh, evolution was about how people was able to evolve. You know, it was uh, in order to explain why some people were starting to thrive, right? In order to justify why some people were starting to thrive in the Industrial Revolution and why some people was falling behind, that they had these different ideas that different people was from different gene pools, and that some gene pools had advanced and some people didn't advance. Some of them, you know, couldn't advance actually because it was just in their gene pool that they couldn't advance. And this is where the science of eugenics came in, is that, well, look, you know, the compassionate thing to do, you know, when you got that type of mindset. Uh, I don't know, was y'all hearing me? Like I said, I don't know if me go back a little ways. Like I was saying, when you have that type of mindset, right, where you was created through death, health, and destruction, then you'll have a type of mindset where you think that, okay, the compassionate thing to do is to sterilize these people who can't evolve in a way that would make them successful in this kind of new way of life, in this new world that we've made. You understand what I'm saying? And social engineering, you know, is another step that's taken in terms of, okay, uh, you know, we're assuming that the rest of these people are not going to see what we see. You know, we're assuming that the rest of these people are not going to see what we see, and so we have to, uh, how would you say, we have to assist the masses about that. We have to assist the masses in being able to see this by planting these X amount of seeds out there. Patience is wearing out a little faster than usual today. Asiatic mathematics said that the experiment he saw was from the 1950s, and they gave LSD to an artist and interviewed him. Then later, they made him draw portraits while on it. Yeah, you got to be aware of that. You got to be aware of that. Uh, there's so many different people that was engaged in that. So that could actually be the CIA had a program with they was working with a hospital and a doctor in Canada, because the laws in Canada was a little bit different about what you could do, and they wanted it to be secret and everything. So you could possibly be talking about that guy from Canada, and he conducted a lot. What's the doing? But this guy from Canada, he conducted a lot of experiments on people, white people's memory, clean and everything. Calm is long. He said there's a good book on this topic. Cut him off. What does it mean? Am I cutting off, or is Calm is long? He said there's a good book on this topic called Walden 2 by B.F. Skinner. On which topic? Asiatic mathematics says social engineering is programming a group for a singular cause, while reprogramming self is cleaning up your own hard drive. I mean, it's all the same thing. You know what I'm saying? When you like Asiatic mathematics, I remember you said it a while ago that it was like a day or two that you took time off from from social media or electronics or some of that nature. That's social engineering. You know, rather you might have a different name for it in the singular sense. You said cleaning up your own hard drive, whatever it is. You're modifying your behavior with a scientific concept. Holyfield said empathy has a genetic code RS53576. So we'll see if that pans out. I suppose when they find this. Is this from the Human Genome Project? Universal Truth said, if I understand what you are saying, social engineering is a valid practice that has been misused and corrupted, but should be held to those examples as its definition. Yeah. You know, like uh if there was a time, I don't know if this is a universal thing, but in New York, right? If you give a person a cane, if you gave a person a cane at a certain point in time, right, it would always come a point where they would pick the cane up and swing it like if they was hitting somebody like that. Yeah. Who? And I have to kick everybody out in a minute. good, man.
Yeah.
Peace, brother.
Lady trying to get in the back.
What lady?
Lady outside.
We'll get in the back of it.
Trying to get in, like, take her stuff, and I guess so.
You king, not the key. You king. You king, you ain't got the key? Oh. Peace. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, what I was saying is that's normal. You know what I'm saying? Just like look, you could take the knowledge and be the 5%, or you could take the knowledge and be the 10%. It's the same knowledge. You understand what I'm saying? These things, these ideas, these objects, all these things is inanimate, man. We the ones that animate them. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, yeah, the social engineering, Circle C, copyright by, Eddie Bernays and Tavistock and Cole, yeah, there's no positivity in that. But what they did is use truths, truths about, people, you know, people's mindsets, people's mentalities, and people's natural responses to things in order to, affect their ends. Wordsmith said in computers you have what is called RAM, random access memory, which is like short-term memory. Then you have a solid-state drive or hard drive, which is like long-term memory. Mathematics is like antivirus software. Um, I mean, see, with social engineering, that's one of the things you kind of do. You kind of override all that stuff. Holyfield said, I got the code from SNPedia. What's SNPedia? AJ Mathematics says solid state drive would be like a 5% mine. Hard drive would be like the mine of 85 because solid state drives are faster. Holyfield said, I guess social engineering takes away someone's ability to discern what's true. I wouldn't say it takes away someone's ability, but it can and does calibrate a person's scale of justice. When you're giving your children a set of morals and values and principles and all of that, that's social engineering. Like in order for uh, 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 some place like Black Wall Street to be made, there has to be some social engineering for you to go from a group of illiterate people, right, to one of the biggest economies in the country, or in that area at least, whatever is the distance of time, whatever is the distance of space, right? In order for you to go from that to there, you know what I'm saying? When you say, okay, boom, we're gonna put our money together and we're gonna send, any kid that we see is a little bit smart, we're gonna send them to college. That's social engineering. You know what I'm saying? When you teach that kid that, okay, look, we're gonna send you to college, and then we need you to come back, right? And educate everybody else. That's social engineering. When the brothers got together and said, look, we're gonna start these sororities and fraternities so that brothers can be educated. That's social engineering that we still see the evidence of right now. Starting those institutions, those colleges, those is all social engineering. Because now look, when you look at the things that was implemented by the people that we talking about that did social engineering in a negative way, that's what they did. They opened schools, right? They promoted certain teachers and certain curriculums. That's what the social engineering, positive or negative is. Like right now, uh, if you're above a certain age group, if you're above a certain age, I would say if you over probably about 45, right? Then all those people are saying that, listen, man, a lot of what you see going on out here, this anarchy stuff and all of that, it comes from the college campuses. See, even the group before us, right? The people who was protesting the old way of life was the college kids in the 60s. So education, I'm saying, is the most major part of social engineering. Real Hip Hop said, how do you get 1 to 40 out of lost and found Muslim lesson number 1? Well, you shouldn't be getting 1 to 40 because that's still 1 to 14. How'd you get 1 to 40? Is that those proper book lessons again? Yeah, lesson 5, lesson number 2, you get 1 to 40. All right. But I mean, in terms of, I don't know what copy you have, but I mean, that's what it says on top. No, the one I got, it says 1 to 40 on top. Holyfield said that's a website that shows genetic codes. SNPs are single nucleotide polymorphisms. They can act as biological markers, helping scientists locate genes that are associated with disease. Yeah, but who is SNP? You told me that SNP. Well, no, what was this? You called it up here? SNPedia. So SNPedia is a website, right? But who's behind the website? See, now I'm sounding like y'all. say your copy said lost and found, Muslim lesson number 2, and then after that they don't say 1 to 40. Well, I'd say he's about to go study. But your copy doesn't say 1 to 40 at the top. See, I'm gonna tell you another thing, man. You gotta take the time to study and learn the lessons. It's like that's the type of thing that there's absolutely no substitute for. At least I don't know it. Like there could be, I guess, in the realm of, because look, you got possibility and then you got probability. Oh, so your copies don't say 1 to 40 at the top as a title. I mean, I'm not sure I ever seen it without that. But I mean, basically, it's saying that it goes from the first degree, right? Who made the Holy Quran a Bible, all the way to what would be your rewards in regards to the destruction of the devil, from the first degree to the 40th degree. You know what I'm saying? You do realize that, adding up all these degrees is how we get 120 degrees, right? You do realize that, right? Real hip hop. SW, that's a very pertinent question right here. Who did you get the lessons from, Real Hip Hop? Oh, that could be it. You got from the Supreme Wisdom book. So yeah, I don't know See, I was socially engineered in a way where I wasn't exposed to supreme wisdom. Like I've seen it before. I'm pretty sure I have a copy of it, but it's just not something. That's W says, see, you got to travel the land and link with God. Yeah, you got to get this. The brother who was just outside named Sincere, he said he's from Cleveland. All right, original C. The brother Sincere that was just outside, he said he was from Cleveland. I gotta hook you up. You on my Instagram, Real Hip Hop. So I gotta hook you up. See life and brothers like that be out there. They be out there in Cleveland, man. See, Real Hip Hop, the DJ Mellow the Cone. I gotta see, man. Is that where you got your shows at, Real Hip Hop? Because I actually was looking for your shows, but I looked on your YouTube and it was some other crazy stuff on it. I didn't even click on it, but it was like old stuff. It wasn't. It didn't look like the other stuff. So I was gonna check out your DJ show you was talking about, but I had looked you up on YouTube. All right, so yeah, I'm try to get you in touch with the brother man that's out there in Ohio. Yeah, you keep saying you have a podcast. Where's the podcast? So King Shah said that in the Supreme Wisdom, it does have 1 and 40 on it.
That's the woman from Texas. I ain't know I was big over that mother, you know.
Yeah, you went in. Listen. She don't need to learn no more for 100 weeks.
I told her I'm sending over that. Sending over that earth yesterday, dog.
Hey man, what's your website, Real Hip Hop?
Yeah, that's what you want to know.
She was looking for some website.
She's supposed to have that. I get it from her.
You never know. Hold up, I bet you Real Hip Hop got some bugged out stuff on his website. Oh well, King Shah said he was a student minister in the FOI. So I would go with King Shah's assessment here that in the Supreme Wisdom, it says 1 to 40. So where'd you get the copy of the Supreme Wisdom from? Yeah. I mean, original seed right here said I haven't seen skunk of the planet Earth since those degrees in the Supreme Wisdom. You know, I had never seen that. That's what I'm saying. Like I saw that way. Like I had heard that Allah took the skunk out, but I never it was years, months, and days before I actually saw a degree. I have to contact that person back in a minute. You bought the book on Amazon, so this means you have the Melchizedek version. Is this a red and white book? From what I understand, Melchizedek sells is it a gold and black one that's purported to be our lessons, and a red and white one that's the supreme wisdom, or purported to be the supreme wisdom. Right, she says red and white. Yes, that sounds like Melchizedek's book. I mean, listen, that's why SW asked the question, where did you get it from? Because all of that is, that's a part of it. That's a part of the context. That's a part of the, reality of you having those lessons. It's got supreme life by Allah Father in it. Now, see, let me tell you something. You're not gonna find a whole bunch of people uh, Melchizedek. When you're talking about Melchizedek's age, you're not gonna find a whole bunch of people that say Father Allah. See, like to this day, you got a whole lot of people that's always saying that, the Father Allah. He's not your father. You get some, they hardcore Christian. So I'm like, yeah, the Father Allah. It's not your father. How's he your father and you Christian? So that's one thing right there. I wouldn't call it, like a red flag or nothing. But when it comes to getting the lessons, you know what I'm saying? Who a person is, and how they related to what it is that you try to be a part of. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, this is what I'm saying. You don't want to go down the Ave, right, and get jumped by a group of kids, and they not even Crip. If you wanted to get down with the Crips for whatever reason, no disrespect to whatever gangs. I'm just using the Crips this time as an example. You don't want to get jumped in by some dudes that's not even Crip. So you need to see if this is this dude really, is he who he says he is. And that's one problem that you have when you're just dealing with the internet. You know what I'm saying? You know, uh, you know, you need to examine too. See, somebody brought it up, I think, in the last live. And I said it before. Don't take nothing on face value. And when I say that, I mean everything that I say. Go check that out and make that your own knowledge. But not just that. You understand what I mean? You got to be examining too. See, look, the doctor examine you, but have you examined the doctor? Suppose you go to a doctor, you let him examine you, right? And then you find out he got 5,000 malpractice cases. So, for everybody that's out there, you know what I'm saying? If you thinking about getting lessons, you understand what I'm saying? Examine, you gotta examine too. Yeah, you're gonna be coming under examination, but that's why you got two sides of the scale at balance. Because see, sometimes you can learn from certain kind of people. You're gonna learn easiest from people who they somewhat like you. They've been in the situations you've been in. They may be able to even see or foresee things that you might go through. But just for everybody, man, examine the people, man, who's telling you that they're giving you this too. The Wordsmith said Melchizedek's book is 1330 on Amazon. Yo, Hip Hop said what's wrong with getting stuff online, like from Amazon, etc., is that you can't really examine. Like, you don't know if somebody's the real deal. Like, let me give you a good example, in another form, because sometimes when we look at things from the outside, we can see it clearly, right? See, you don't want to be going to the Wizard of Oz looking for the power when the power was on your feet the whole time. Now, in that particular story, it's on the feet and not in you. But what I'm saying is that the Wizard of Oz is a charlatan, right? Who knows how to make it look good. And he spread this legend and all of this about who he is. But he's not who he says he is. You got to look behind the curtain. Look, you said what's wrong with getting stuff online. What you mean? Stuff like what? Like a shirt? Like a t-shirts? That's one thing. But we talk about life itself. When we say it's a book of life. What kind of life? A jungle life? A beast life? Life in the gutter? Life as an addict? What kind of life? And how do you examine that just online? And I'm saying that online. To see one difference between me and everybody else to see you come right here on the day, people have come already. On the day when I say I'm in the pocket and you can see the real me. Maybe even where you from right now. Some people where they from, you've already met somebody that they can tell you like, yeah, nah, the brother's the real deal. King Shah said, verify information, then trust it. Verify information, then trust it. Measure twice, cut once. Mr. Green once said, well, the question is, why aren't you walking with the guys in Cleveland, Ohio? Thomas Lonely said, now it's supposed to be free. You know, I wouldn't say exactly free, but all the payment is supposed to come from you. You know, like how they just say, you know, you so broke you can't pay attention. That's what you're supposed to have to pay in order to get this knowledge. Yeah, there's brothers in Cleveland. Like I said, I'm gonna put you on, or I'm gonna contact the brother, uh, and tell him to get in touch with you on Instagram. And like I said, also the brother who was just right here, his name was Sincere. He said he was from Cleveland real quick, but you know, at the time I was being interrupted by so many people. Right, Calm Islam, he said in the material sense, knowledge shouldn't be traded for any goods because, uh, you know, this knowledge is for children. So if you out there affecting the kids, you understand what I'm saying? You know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you know, they don't got money. And if they do, you know, they try and do their little thing, get their little sneakers or whatever it is that they do. You know, and what we doing is, you know, even as the teacher, you got to remember what you building is a society, right? That is for, you know, the benefit of your future and all your future generations as well. You know, hip hop said all the books I got, you have gotten online. All the books I got have been gotten online, have been examined. I mean, well, not the 120. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you know, it's not just the person or the book that you got to examine, because you got to remember that even a book where, you know, it's all this factual stuff in it, it still has some interpretations by the author. You know, there's still some level of interpretation by the author. There's still the author deciding, okay, I'm putting all factual information in there, but which facts do I think is most important? You know what I'm saying? Like the book is X amount of pages. We can't put everything in there. You know, the writer and the editors or whoever is deciding that. So you also got to know about the science of the people who's making it. Like for instance, I'm sure some brothers, King Shah probably knows, right? Um, uh, you know, are there any African Egyptologists? You know, Egyptology is basically a French and British thing. I've seen a couple Arab Egyptologists. You know what I'm saying? And I know Sheikh Antadia, you know, did some studies on the Egyptian mummies and things of that nature, but I don't know if he's per se an Egyptologist. So not to say that you know, what a French or British Egyptologist, you know, may report may not be factual, but which facts they think is pertinent. You know, how much stuff do you want to tell me about Ptolemy versus how much stuff you might want to tell me about, you know, some king in the in the first dynasty or something. All right, now King Shah said, what's the problem with getting it from the source? You know, see, for me, it's just still some things. You know, even over the time, I've loosened up and, you know, even built on some things that I wouldn't have built on in the beginning, you know. But it's still things, trust me. Every day I come on here, trust me, it's still things that you're not going to know unless you come around me right here, right. You understand what I'm saying? You know, and dealing with, you know, look, the lessons, the flags, you understand what I'm saying? You know, and look, a lot of it is based on my value system, my personal value system, that these is things that, you know, I value in terms of, you know, the benefit that I got from getting the lessons in the way that I got them. I wouldn't want to 10% you. I wouldn't want to 10% you and give it to you no less. I'm not going to 10% you and give it to you no harder neither. You know, I'm not going to make you put a cross on your back and walk through the whole town with people spitting on you neither. With a crown of thorn, I'm not going to do all none of that neither. But in terms of, you know, getting the lessons, you know, there's that little part right there. See? Let me see who's paying attention. I think we've been through this before, but let me see who's paying attention. In the 1 to 10, what's the first thing it say on the paper? Now, King Shah also put here that Deuce Ali in the early 1900s was an African Egyptologist. You know, now, of the common books that we read and the common, you know, things that they teach, how much of that came from him and how many came from other individuals, you know, from French and British extraction? So Asiatic Mathematics said on the top of his 1 to 10, it says Rules of Islam. Mine doesn't say the Rules of Islam on it. Anyone else? What's the first thing that it says on the 1 to 10? Right, King Shah said it's mostly Europeans who give us, you know, the basic information. You know, like I've seen other dudes come in and say, well, look, you know, the pyramids are thousands of years older than most of the historians is saying. But like I said, if you're dealing with French and British historians, then they got to fit that history into the history that they know. All right, now brilliant elevation, that's close. This is it right here. Look, 793rd, he thought that was a trick question. So he just put student. That was a good one, 793rd. Sometimes you ask a question, you get an answer back, you like, all right, I thought. It does. But listen to original Seed's answer. All praises due to Allah, Lord of all worlds. Student enrollment 1 to 10. The following questions must be answered 100% before submittance of student to said lesson number 1. See, real hip hop, yeah. Student enrollment 1 in 10. But see, original C, he put the whole. So see, I still go by that, you know, we went through all of that to get to that part. The following questions must be answered 100% before submittance of student to said lesson number 1. So guess what? When you get to said lesson number 1, you're gonna have to answer that 100% before submittance of student to the next said lesson number 1. And then you're gonna have to answer that 100% before submittance to said lesson number 2. Okay, Real Hip Hop said yours has all that on it too. So that's why, you know, how can you answer the question 100%, right? If the person is on the internet, they don't even know you bought it. Like they see your name come through with the email or whatever, but they don't know who you are. See, that's the main thing is, you know, is the knowledge is something you gotta see with all 5 senses. You gotta detect with all 5 senses. You know, because it's not just the knowledge, it's a culture, it's a way of life. So it's not, you know, without you being able to interact with a person. During elevation said, I recall when I got to the 40th degree and the 1 to 40, I asked my brother if I should memorize what it said after it too. Peace. How you doing? Great. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? When you say what it says after? Real hip hop said, I'm going to frame mine and go after I have 120 on cap. No, don't do that with it. Give it to somebody else who don't know. You know, you don't do that kind of thing with knowledge. All right, now see, calm is normally what you're saying right there. This lesson number 2 was given by our prophet W.D. Fard. Yeah, you supposed to know that. I don't know if that's the part you was talking about. Brilliant elevation. But yeah, that's a part of the degree. That's not after. But you know, look, yeah, that's a part of the 40th degree. That's a part of that. Look, I when you said it kind of dawned on me like, yo, I wonder if he means that part. Yeah, you gotta. That's the 40th degree is all that. But look, we all go through that, and that's why it's important for you to be walking with somebody because look, these are not stupid things. These are not stupid things. These is mistakes that any beginner, you know, anybody who don't know the culture of it, you know, if you just seen it on paper, that's one thing. But if you don't know the culture of it, like, listen, I'm gonna tell you something that brothers have to correct me on. That's in the same type of vein, right? I didn't know you were supposed to be spelling everything out. Not everything, but I'm saying like when in the culture degree in the 1 to 14, I should just say U means hillside, rope means the rope to bind in. So the brother said, all right, you're supposed to say EU. The same thing uh uh with the 13th degree in the 1 to 14. I didn't know you were supposed to be, I thought it was just captain and lieutenant. You know what I'm saying? Or in my 1 to 10, right? In my particular 1 to 10, where it says Caucasian or white man, right? It just got white man in parentheses. So I never used to say the white man. I used to just say Caucasian to the brother. I was like, yo, why you don't know it? And I was, you know, I told him it's a parentheses. He's like, oh, nah, God, nah, you still supposed to say that. These are the things that you never gonna get to if you get it off of Amazon. You know, and these are the things, this is, you know, when, you know, those brothers that you amongst that school you to these things, you know, y'all having that equality together growing up. You understand what I'm saying? You know, uh, all of that's a part of the things that, you know, that's don't, that, you know how you buy something and it said batteries not included? That's not included with your 1330. You know, I can think of lots of things that, you know, I didn't understand, you know, why that was that way. Like I always tell people, man, at least to me, this culture is such a specific thing that, you know, it's just impossible for you to know what we dealing with until you actually deal with it. And I'm saying this, you know, as a veteran, yeah, listen, yeah, it's still things that happen, you know, now that I'll be like, whoa, this is what we dealing with. And they just said it's just kind of funny for me now that I studied all these degrees and now I'm like, should I learn this too? Yeah, absolutely. But you know, like I said, you know, you're not the first person, you won't be the last. But all this is the sign. So, you know, exercising the culture, you know what I'm saying? Living the culture really out. You know what I'm saying? Same thing can happen with a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? You know, if, you know, it could be a recipe, you know what I'm saying, that somebody in your family put you on to, and you can have all the ingredients and you can have them in the right amount, but you didn't do certain things. You know, you need somebody to tell you, nah, look, see the eggs and that other thing, I mix that together before you mix it with everything else. Make sure you mix that together, ain't no lumps in that, then you mix it with everything else. But how would you know that if you just get the recipe out the book, if the book don't, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, because that person may not be resonating with you. And most of these people that's just giving out 120, the whole thing, or they sell you the whole thing in the book, they're under the impression that this is some new day and time. And, you know, with the young people, you know, all you got to do is give them 120 and they're going to do what they not. Now, you know, see them, you know, Melchizedek, I know y'all ain't that much younger than me to where I don't realize that y'all ain't, because I was thinking, where's all on the business? I was thinking about all on the business. I was talking to somebody in their 30s, and I was like, yo, man, I think I need a translator or interpreter or something, man. Like, yeah, I feel like, you being caught. He'd be like, yeah, you speak English? All right, second call. Second call on my case, man, because I don't even know what this person talking about. Real Hip Hop said, I would like to go to Mecca one day. I unfortunately have no choice but to get stuff online and go to classes. Look, you know, we all gotta start where we at. You know what I'm saying? If you not Allah, you understand what I'm saying? Then you had some journey coming into this, and it was already other people that was dealing with it. You know. That's a certain science, but it's one of the things where, part of learning, right, is accepting that you're ignorant to certain things. Third said his homegirl said that about her babies about 10 years back. Yeah, that you need to interpret it, to speak like it. It seems like I understand the words that you're saying. Like I understand it as English, but I don't think I know what your meaning is. I don't. So basically, that's where where you at right now. But see, and that's what I said is that listen, coming to Mecca is a thing, coming to New York is a thing, and I realized that years ago that I didn't appreciate being in New York the way other people saw it. You know what I'm saying? Where to me it was like, man, I win. Like if I was in Cleveland, I'm not going out there. I'm going to Mecca for it. But just you gotta remember, man, Mecca is where you make it. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm not sure if that was this live or the last live that I did earlier. But I don't know if it was this live or the last live that I did earlier. But I said that listen, man, Allah didn't teach everybody. We've all done our part, you understand what I'm saying? And making sure that this knowledge is known. So, don't think that, like I said, that there's no brothers in Cleveland. It may not be a lot. Look, you may still be one of the first 9 born from Cleveland. I don't know. Yeah, there's still places in America that they still working on their first 9 born. You understand what I'm saying? But listen, that's a certain thing too. That's a certain thing too. You know what I'm saying? Like what you looking at right now is a negative, you know what I'm saying? Or, it's something that, it's not the best thing that, it's not a lot of brothers around there. See, you start doing teaching, now you turn that whole thing around. See, because I could never be the first, the first 9, the first brothers over there, the first brothers over there. I got some things that I found. even that's in a certain, like, you could be the first person to, run a race, or you could be the first person to run that race with clown shoes on, or the first person to run that race, with a wool coat on or something. I'm in that category. Where, yeah, that was done before, but never with clown shoes on. That's a part of being from New York, man. But out there where you at, you understand what I mean? But the thing is, you gotta be right. 793rd said they're doing handstands. Listen, at this point you gotta do handstands with a big red nose on or something. And then maybe you could be the first person that did that. Original C said today's mathematics is knowledge, understanding, all being born in culture of freedom. Knowledge and understanding is one and the same. In order to be the master of your universe, to become free. But it's like I said, in this day and time right now, we passed the days of certain things where we in the beginning. You understand what I'm saying? Right now, the only thing that matters is that you got it. But at any rate, we had a nice class here. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that made it this far with me, do the each one teach one and hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. What's that other thing you got to do in order to get the alerts? Quite sure somebody in there knows. You know what I'm saying? Tomorrow, we already scheduled for 7 o'clock, the regularly scheduled civilization class. Perhaps we might get an early live in, if I get a chance to speak to some brothers, because I did have some brothers that I wanted to bring on. Yeah, that's another thing here. You know what I mean? Share these on your social medias, on your Facebook and your Twitters or whatever. You know what I'm saying? To get the word out there. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, and in between time, until we see each other tomorrow, peace to the guys, peace to the earths. All the brothers and sisters in other nations that check us out here on the live. And we'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.